Hello, my name is Julie Hughes Quintana, and I am in a single group. My project is on an elder coloring book to promote mental wellness during the pandemic. My challenge question is, how can we help elders experiencing pandemic-induced anxiety, depression, and loneliness? And let me tell you why. These are my grandmas. The grandma on my left is my grandma Penny, who I call Don, and the grandma on my right is my grandma Teresa, who I call Abuelita. Because of COVID, neither of my grandmas have been able to travel around as much. They've been forced to stay inside and risk their mental self over their physical self. This has especially affected Dawn because she lives with my step-grandma, who is at work all day. I thought about them both when I was doing this project, but especially Dawn because she is alone so often and it's really made an impact on her mental health. Considering the fact that both of my grandmas have been experiencing pandemic related issues, I decided to look into it more. And it turns out that 1 in 4 elders are experiencing pandemic-induced anxiety and or depression nationwide. If you were to look at these individuals closer, you would see that many of them have actually experienced anxiety or depression in the past. And the thing is, there may be countless more elders who are not reporting their mental health issues. And it is more likely for the specific age group to not report mental health issues due to generational differences. My idea for combating these issues is an elderly coloring and activity book. My method for this project was not to replace mental health, but to encourage it and to promote mental well-being. A coloring book is a private way to express yourself. It serves one major purpose and no one has to know. As a temporary escape to the world around you, there is scientific proof that coloring reduces stress and anxiety. To add on, for elders who are not well versed in the topic of self-care and mental health, the book would provide a basic foundation to wellness and meditation techniques and provide suggestions regarding how to go and get professional help when necessary. Here's a general idea of what my book would include. Here's a front page, basically a general idea of what the final product would look like. This is obviously a very rough draft of a coloring page, and it was inspired by the mood nervous scene from Breakfast at Tiffany's. Lastly, this is a rough example of an activity page. Well, now that we know the product, I had to figure out how many could benefit from it and how to get the help to them. There are 4 steps to figuring out a rough amount. Firstly, there are 167,500 elders in San Diego City. We already know that 1 in 4 elders are experiencing pandemic-induced anxieties and depression, and 25% of 167,500 is 41,875. This would be our estimate. This is a lot of people, and when I first saw this number, I was a bit overwhelmed, but I figured it out when we began looking into market strategies. Firstly, I decided to do some print. Here's an example of a flyer. This is an example of a newspaper ad. This is an example of a newsletter, and this would be a Facebook post. I actually currently have an internship in social media marketing towards elders, and basically because of this, I feel pretty comfortable with this strategy as I have pretty good experience. In terms of cost, I decided to make a chart. Together with social media, newspaper ads, flyers, and newsletters, we would be having a cost of $1,765. And then in terms of other expenses, it would cost around $2,590 per 1,000 copies of the book. But both of my brothers are artists, and around San Diego, they paint murals and do things like that. And I would pay them $150 each for artistic feedback. Lastly, I would pay $250 for feedback from elders. This would go towards paying 25 to 50 surveys, $5 gift cards for 1 to 2 surveys over 2 rounds. Now let's dish that graph and kind of look at the basics. All of the expenses for this project make a total of $4,905, just under $5,000. And how might we get started on this? The majority of the work left would be production, including making and finalizing the coloring pages and printing them out. Secondly, marketing and selling would take up the rest of our time. And then we have a little bit of miscellaneous, and this includes getting in contact with charities and looking towards the future after we are producing and selling. Here are some steps in specifics, but I won't read them out just due to time, and I'll leave them on screen for a couple of seconds. And that pretty much concludes the basis of the project and everything else in between. I decided to do a little bit of self-reflection for myself. And here are the major things I learned and took away from this project. Number one, elders are one of the most vulnerable right now during the pandemic. They're having such a difficult time right now because of how hard this virus can affect them. And even though they may hide it or simply we don't see it because they are quarantining, many elders are struggling, and we need to be aware of that and be available to help them. Third, there are many non-invasive ways to do this, and we can reach out to them technologically, educate them, and provide mental health, and update them regarding news locally or globally. That doesn't just have to be about COVID. Fourth, I also learned how great of a tool coloring is. Scientifically, it is beneficial for reducing stress and anxiety. It is an escape into pages and from the realities of life. Fifth, one of the things that surprised me the most is how much goes into marketing. Sixth, lastly, whatever talent you have, you can utilize it to help in-need communities. No matter what, you can make a difference. I wanted to end on this quote. Children need the wisdom of their elders, and aging needs encouragement of a child's exuberance. Thank you very much. My name is Julie Hughes Quintana. I look forward to answering any questions. You can reach me at juliehugh02@civichigh.com.